From terrorism to frosty relations with India, how will Pakistan deal with some of its key problems? We sit down for an in-depth interview with Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mehmood Qureshi. Hello and welcome. I'm Anand Naidoo with this special edition of The Heat. Pakistan's most famous cricketer, Imran Khan, has just taken office as Prime Minister of the country. But barely 5 weeks after he was sworn in, he's facing some major problems, including a stagnant economy and some diplomatic challenges. While Pakistan's ties with China are blossoming with close cooperation in regional security and economic investments, such as the CPEC, he faces major challenges in other areas. Relations with traditional ally the United States have soured. Washington cut $300 million in aid to Pakistan over its perceived inability to tackle extremist groups. Tensions with neighboring Afghanistan continue to rise over accusations of terrorism. Khan also suffered a major setback when India rejected his offer for a meeting between the foreign ministers of both nations in New York. New Delhi initially accepted the offer but later withdrew, blaming Pakistan-based entities for the recent killing of Indian security forces. Plenty to talk about. Let's get right to it. With me is the Pakistan Foreign Minister, Shah Mehmood Qureshi. Minister, thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with Pakistan's relationship with India. Recently, Prime Minister Imran Khan, the new Prime Minister of Pakistan, offered talks with India on areas of mutual concern. India initially accepted that invitation, then rejected it, citing the killing of its soldiers by what it called Pakistan entities. So the talks are off right now, but where do you go to from here?
There is no other option. Talks is the only way forward. The talks have been stalled for the last 3 years, and this government came in, and we were of the view that we need to re-engage. We have outstanding issues, and the only way of resolving those issues is through a dialogue, through peaceful means. Because here is a government that wants to focus on issues that are of interest to the people of Pakistan. And what do the people want? The people want economic growth. They want jobs. They want prosperity. For that, you need peace. You need peace in the region. And when you want peace in the region, then you have to have peace with neighbors. So what did we do? On both sides, on the western side and on the eastern side, we offered engagement. I went to Kabul, met the leadership, and the message was, we want peace and stability in Afghanistan because our future is linked to yours. When there's peace there, we'll have peace here. And in order to have peace and have a concentrated approach over there, we need peace on the eastern side. So the most natural thing was to tell India the sensible way forward is talk. And they agreed, and it seems that they buckled. They buckled under domestic political pressure. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And the justification given, frankly, that was an afterthought.
So how do you see the process going forward from here on? I mean, do you envisage, for instance, perhaps direct talks between Prime Minister Imran Khan and his Indian counterpart, Prime Minister Modi?
Well, is he ready? Will politics allow him? He has elections around the corner, and would the environment of general elections permit him to do so? It seems that he will be hesitant. It seems that he will be reluctant. It seems they have taken a position that the rhetoric that they had adopted, they took the pendulum too far. And now, realizing what we are saying is the sensible way forward. They are stuck in the position they had taken. But leaders have to go beyond that, and they have to look at the larger picture. And the larger picture is that this region has to move forward. For example, SARC is an important forum for economic cooperation, for regional connectivity, and India has scuttled the whole process. The summit that was to take place in November 2016 did not take place. It's unfortunate that bilateral issues are being used for stopping progress on multilateral forums.
Let's talk about the one issue that is at the center of your dispute with India, and that is the status of Kashmir. The two countries have fought two wars over this particular issue. How do you see that moving forward now?
See, what the Indians have to see is the situation on the Indian side of Kashmir has not improved. It has deteriorated. The use of force has not worked. The stringent laws, the draconian laws have paid no dividend. In fact, they have alienated people further. And today, they had to use excessive force, and that is becoming counterproductive. The latest report of the UN Commissioner on Human Rights is a case in point. The atrocities pointed out by the Commissioner is exactly what Pakistan has been saying for years, and nobody was taking notice of that. Now, this is not what Pakistan is saying. This is what an international body is saying. That's their sort of considered view. The movement, the people's movement, the political movement has gone to an extent where people who had been in alliance with them, Mehbooba Mufti, Umar Abdullah, they are distancing themselves from the Indian point of view. Why? Because the local population is not accepting what India is doing.
Right, so that is the situation right now, but where do you go to from here? What kind of proposal would Pakistan make?
The proposal is sit and talk. Sit and talk. There are no easy solutions. I'm not expecting a quick fix, but what I'm saying is incremental progress. We can take steps which will improve the environment, which will restore confidence, steps that will bridge the trust deficit. And that is what is required. You have to sit. You can agree to disagree, but you have to sit. Two countries, two neighbors with huge internal challenges. Challenge of illiteracy, challenge of poverty, challenge of investments, or the lack of investments in infrastructure development. They cannot and they should not be thinking of anything but peace.
One other challenge that you have in Pakistan, you're facing an insurgency in Balochistan. Pakistan has blamed India for fomenting that insurgency in Pakistan. Have you raised that with your Indian counterpart?
Well, yes, we have, and India wanted to discuss terrorism, and I said, fine, we can do that. They have some issues that they want to highlight, and yes, if I'd met the Indian Foreign Minister, I had some grievances as well, and I could have, with evidence, given her our point of view on the fanning of insurgency in Balochistan. Yadev is one, a case in point. What was he doing there? He was picked up from there. So they've been doing that, but they have not had much success, and the province is now more or less, the miscreants have been dealt with, and life is normal. We've just had elections, and in these elections, the turnout in Balochistan was higher than any past election. So that confidence has come back, leadership has come back. Many leaders who were sidelined or had sidestepped are back in Parliament. So that's a healthy sign. Development activities going on. We have local governments there. The federal government, the new federal government, is supportive of their desires, and we feel when we talk of, in our manifesto, when we talk of strengthening the federation, one of the points that we're talking about is reconciliation and healing in Balochistan.
Let's talk about relations with the United States. Not the best right now. Very recently, the United States suspended $300 million in military aid to Pakistan. And the reason the United States did that, it said, was because of lack of action on the part of Pakistan dealing with militant groups. To which you say what?
If they had come and seen the situation in areas that were difficult to govern in the past, they would have not complained of lack of action. They would have seen and they would have applauded the successful operations that we have undertaken, the armed forces have undertaken in the tribal belt. In a very difficult geographic terrain, they have been successful. We have paid a price, a huge human and economic price, but those areas have been cleared. Progress has been made. A new political consensus has evolved in the country. Today, there is agreement. Different political parties, different shades of opinion, they're all agreed to a national action plan on how to deal with terrorism, how to deal with these entities that have disturbed peace within the country and could be responsible of disturbing peace beyond. So there is more consensus than ever before. In fact, this is the time to engage with Pakistan than to disengage, because the internal environment is for firm action against individuals and entities that are involved in militancy.
You know, just on that point of engagement, there's no doubt that Pakistan has suffered at the hands of terrorism itself. In fact, in many instances, Pakistan has been a bigger victim than the United States when you look at the number of casualties that you've suffered. So why has it been so hard for you to convince the United States that you face as big a problem as the United States does?
You see, there are challenges in Afghanistan. Perhaps the environment has not improved in line with the expectations. And when it has not, then somebody is responsible. Then who's responsible to want to look at someone? You do not want to hold yourself responsible. You look for scapegoats. And Pakistan is an easy target.
Are you holding bilateral talks with U.S. officials here in New York?
I will be meeting Secretary Pompeo on the 2nd.
Now, one other thing that the United States, or one other action that's been taken against Pakistan is the Financial Action Task Force. This is a global money laundering watchdog, and it's listed Pakistan, put Pakistan on its grey list. Why is Pakistan on that grey list?
Well, to begin with, we believe that choking terror financing is important, and we are supportive of that action. handling money laundering is important. So we are not against the concepts that are being talked about. We feel we had made progress, but if the international community feels that more is required on the financial side, we're willing to do it. And we are doing it. We will comply. We will comply in our own interest, because we do not want terrorism to be financed and terrorists to be financed. So it's in our own interest to move in that direction, and we will comply and hopefully get off the grey list.
Right, but at the moment, clearly being on this grey list sends the message that you're not doing enough.
That is a message it sends, yes. There could be political considerations for putting us on the grey list. Nonetheless, we will cooperate and we will move ahead, and we will try our best to satisfy our friends that we have moved in our own interest.
Lots more to talk about with the Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mehmood Qureshi, but right now we are going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. You're watching a special edition of The Heat.